Hi, my name is Catherine Price, and I'm a librarian at Greenlease Library. Today, I'm going to give you a quick introduction to the basics of MLA citation. We're going to be going over what you need to know about in-text citations, how to create a bibliography or a works cited, a few frequently asked questions, and where to go to get additional information. Now, when you're using MLA to cite a source inside the body of your paper, there are only two main elements that you need to worry about. Those are who and where. You need to give credit to the author you're getting your information from, which is the who, and allow your reader to locate your sources for themselves, which is the where. Always acknowledging your sources in this way helps you to avoid plagiarism. So for those in-text MLA citations, the only information that you'll need to insert is the author's last name and the location that you got your information from. This will take the form of the author's last name and a page number inside parentheses, as you can see in the example on the right. Note that there's no comma, there's no colon, and there's no letter P between the author's last name and the page number. It's just the author's, just the name, and then the locator. It's really simple. Next, let's talk about what we call narrative citations. Let's say that you're using some more information from your source, but you don't want to quote the exact wording, or maybe you want to summarize information from a larger block of text. Remember, when you're in the text of your essay, MLA cares most about indicating who and where your information is from. The example sentence above is a summary of information that was given over the course of 2 pages of an article, so I still want to show it where I got it from without quoting it in full. But since I started my summary sentence with the author's name, I don't need to repeat it in the parentheses at the end. It's still clear to the reader who said it and where. So choosing between in-text and narrative citations can be a decision that's driven by whichever suits your prose best. Both forms are valid. Since the references that you make to your source within the body of your paper are so brief, the works cited, which is also sometimes referred to as your bibliography, is where you give all the details about each source. The bad news is that there are a lot of different source types that you might find yourself using in your paper, like an article from an online database, an episode of a TV show from a streaming service, a podcast, and so on. The good news is that you don't need to have any of these formats memorized. I'll link some sources to you for you at the end of this video, and you can use those to look up the templates or the models, which you need to list each source in your works cited. So for our purposes, let's look at one common source type, which is an article that you found in one of the library's online databases. Here's a screenshot of the article's webpage. So while it has a lot of the information that you're going to need for your works cited page, it's not already laid out in MLA style for you. So what's the magic formula? You can use a copy of the MLA handbook or a reputable online resource like the Purdue OWL to look up the format for an article from an online database in your works cited. You might have noticed the JSTOR logo on the previous screen cap, which is the database we're using. I will split screen the next slide to show what each of these elements are in the citation and where they appear in the article page. The model citation is at the top, and the information that we have to work with from the article that we're going to be using is on the bottom. So we want to start with the author, which is last name, comma, first name, period. And here's our citation on the right. Next, we need the title of the article in quotes. So note in the example, that's the one at the top, each word is capitalized except for articles like and which are in the middle of the title. There we go. So next we need the journal's name in italics followed by a comma. Remember that the journal is like an academic equivalent of a magazine. It might have a title that begins with a name like Journal of, but not always. And in this case, the name of our journal is Gastronomica. So we're going to put that next in italics followed by a comma. After this, what the MLA wants to know about is what it calls the container, which is where your article was published. This makes a difference because it helps to establish the credibility of your source. Because in-text citations are so brief, you could be quoting a YouTube comment for all your reader knows. So this extra information in the works cited tells your reader what kind of sources you're engaging with, and hopefully it shows them that there's some credentials in those sources that make them solid and scholarly. But first, we need to tell our reader where in the many issues of Gastronomica this article was published. To be as specific as possible, we're going to include the volume number, issue number, date, and page number, like it's all listed in the example on the top, followed by a period. The JSTOR page doesn't list everything exactly like the MLA does, but it's still got all the information that we need. In our case, Gastronomica is a journal that's contained within the JSTOR online database. So think of a database as a package containing journal articles, ebooks, news articles, kind of like how Netflix could be seen as a container for TV shows, like original TV shows, games, and so on. It doesn't say JSTOR on the screen snip above, but there's a big JSTOR logo on the top of the page that could clue you in. And then the last thing that we need is the article's identifier. Optimally, this is this nonsense looking string, which is called a DOI. And usually it has the letters DOI at the start to clue you into what it is. Let's paste that in here. If the DOI is unavailable, then you can use a permalink to the article, but you do not want to directly copy and paste the URL out of your browser window into your citation. Those links are usually really long, and more importantly, they're usually configured so that they won't work if you go back and click on them later. Lastly, we can choose to include the date of access at the end of our citation, which is just today's date. The citation above looks funny because it's all scrunched onto the right side of the slide here, but this is all the information that you need. Remember, you don't need to be able to do this all from memory. It's just a matter of your being able to look up the model that you need. A lot of databases will even generate citations for you in the style that you choose, but you just always need to proofread them if you use one of these tools. Here's an example of an automatically generated citation that I found where the title shows up in all caps, which is an error. These tools are only as smart as the metadata that they have to work with, and often that's inconsistent. A few frequently asked questions about MLA style because, yes, we actually get questions about citation at the library pretty often. According to MIT, common knowledge is information that the average educated reader would accept as reliable without having to look it up. So, for example, here, water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. The Battle of Gettysburg was fought July 1st through 3rd, 1863, in and around the town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and also stuff like field-specific knowledge, like how Bragg's law describes diffraction in a crystalline solid. However, whether or not you can expect your reader to know these things really depends on your audience and your field. Do I know that water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit? Yes, I do. Do I remember the date of the Battle of Gettysburg off the top of my head? No, but it's general knowledge that's easy enough for me to look up. Would a physicist already be familiar with Bragg's law? Yes, but I am not a physicist, so I'd need to get that information from a source and cite it. So when in doubt, put in a citation. Am I citing too much or too often? Maybe not. Academic honesty means giving credit to your sources, and it shows all the work that you've been doing. However, if you're looking at your paper and your paragraphs are quote after quote after quote after quote, this is a signal to take a step back and to look at your writing. Are you pausing to analyze the evidence that you cite, or are you treating it all as self-explanatory? Remember, unless you're compiling paragraphs and paragraphs full of just pure facts, you're probably using your sources to advance an argument. You want to make sure that your reader understands why the quotes that you're using are there and how they reinforce your points. So a paper which is full of quotes might be a sign that maybe you need to back up and insert some of that analysis into your paper. Your official source of information is the latest edition of the MLA Handbook, which you can get as a print or as an ebook. We also have a copy that you can use in the reference area near the library's front desk. And as you can see on the left here, it's the one with the pretty rainbow color or rainbow cover. Purdue University's online writing lab has what I think is one of the best websites on MLA citation. There are a lot of resources out there vying for your attention, especially online, but OWL is thorough, it's accurate, and they keep it updated. This is also a good place to look for information about citing really specific or unusual sources, like a lecture or a piece of art, etc. Lastly, you can always check out our website, pictured on the right, which has its own citation guide with examples. Thank you.